there's world changers or wannabe world changers who think they have to change a billion people, and there's the real world changers who change the world for one person.
To say rejection is not a bad thing. It's the fertilizer for your dreams to grow in.
But if I quit, then I've lied to them and I've lied to myself.
Self-confidence really does come from keeping your word to yourself. Every time that you keep your word to yourself on what you said you were going to do, you build a little bit of self-confidence, right?
I'm David Specht, and this is Keep This in Mind.
Welcome to Keep This in Mind, brought to you by davidaspecht.com, and I am David A. Specht. And on today's show, this is a special one, folks. We have Brock Zevan, who is a real estate agent, but that is the smallest, tiniest bit of his complete picture. He has been a PE teacher and coach in the scholastic world. He has been in real estate. He is a business coach. In fact, that's how he and I kind of got together. Was we have a mutual friend in Coach Michael Burt that we kind of crossed paths and got into each other's ecosystems and have followed each other for a while. But Brock has a unique story of triumph. He's got a unique story of pivots. And as the show says, we have to keep some things in mind. So, Brock, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, David. I appreciate you having me, man. And it's great. I've been, following you. You've been following me. And it's always great when it's just like, let's get together. Let's talk. Let's see how we can help other people. Let's share a little bit about our lives on what's made an impact into us. And Michael Burt is a huge component for both of us and how he has helped us grow in our business and with each other. And so I really appreciate you having me, man.
Oh, sure. And the proximity matters, right? I mean, if it wasn't for us getting into a room that we might have not been comfortable in at one time, our paths would have never crossed. And I've come across so many deep relationships as a result. Our mutual friend Chad Free, who's been on this show. I remember seeing him at Monster Nation, and I remember the first words out of his mouth were, I know I'm a lot shorter than you thought I would be.
Yeah, he is. Every time I see him too, I was just like, I forget how short you are, Chad.
So, but it is true that no matter where we are in the U.S., I mean, you're in North Carolina. I'm in Tennessee, but at the time I was in Louisiana.
I was always watching you do your walks.
Yeah. So the idea of proximity is a huge component, and I believe that we're made for community. We're made to be in community with other people. We're made to be in relationship with other people, and so this kind of leads into why I wanted you on the show, because I've been watching what you do. I have this saying that's we only see people where they are now. We have no idea how they got here. And my experience with you was always seeing you. You do a morning live show every day. That rolls, and you give inspiration and motivation and tools to be successful in life and business. So I see you in that ecosphere. But then, like, when I reach out to you and we start talking about the podcast and stuff, you're like, dude, I can talk about my failings. I can talk about my struggles. I can talk about divorce and coming out of that, which is all part of the great picture. But so many people don't see that picture because we very rarely can get deep enough to get beyond the snapshot of right now. So I want to kind of turn it over to you and talk about, how did you go from PE coach to real estate guy to business consultant? And I know we got to kind of, we could be here for hours going through the nitty gritty, but what are some of the highlights, lowlights, and other aspects of what makes Brock today?
Yeah, and trying to bundle it all up has been a unique. I'm actually finishing up my book, My Mess to Success, about talking about this and what that looks like. And just writing a book, let me just tell you, it's not easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh, I thought this would be a little bit simpler than that and not as expensive. And boy, oh boy, it is not so much that. I was writing down a couple of notes that you said because a couple of things that came to my mind is, we peel back the onion. We dive a little bit deeper to understand really what who we are. Bishop Jakes talks about many times what people see me as like, we see them as they arrived,
Mm.
but they don't understand the process that it took to get to the arrival position. And we are always working to arrive because in my mind, I haven't even like really got there yet. Like I feel like I'm 17 blocks away. And so they only see us during those moments. And Tony Robbins says the quote that people are rewarded in public for what they practice in private. And it's it is that moment. It is very hard when the music stops, when it's dark out, when nobody's around, and your alarm clock goes off, and it begins with a 4 in front of it, and nobody's cheering you on to get up in the morning, and nobody's pushing you to stay up a little bit later to do that extra 30 minutes that you know you're going to do. And I have a saying that I really heard that I love is, you're not finished when you're tired, you finish when you're done.
Mm.
And many times we want to stop when we're tired, but it is that growth, that second level. It's never crowded, that extra mile. And so all these things that I say here are repeated in my head constantly, because when you have to make decisions in life, majority of your big decisions are major decisions, and they're not easy decisions.
Mm.
When I left teaching, being a physical education teacher and assistant principal, and I was at the time period in my life, I was making about $60,000 a year, and that was pretty good money for me. I mean, I was just in my young 20s, and I was a lifeguard during the summer and living that life, and I was I was happy. I had no kids. I wasn't married. I was living my life, and I was excited, and then it was just like, I don't know if I want to do this the rest of my life. I'm not too sure if this is something that I want to do. And I always feel like there's more to me. Like there's another side of it, but I really didn't know what it is. You don't know what you don't know. And so I've really developed when I heard failing forward. That's like became my like really big thing, because I was like, all right, I don't know. Let me just try this out. Let me see this. And so I went from physical education teacher. Then I went back to school and got my master's degree in administration, and I was going to become a principal. And so I ended up becoming an assistant principal, and I ended up being at a school that was a gang related type of school. So I learned about the Bloods, the Crips, the MS-13s. That was like a whole nother world to me that I learned. And I was just like, I remember the first time I had to do a gang fight, and the police officer, I was like, you had to pad the kids down. And the police officers don't do it. I was like, why? He goes, because they have switchblades in their pockets for you to cut themselves, and they get the points off of it. I'm like, what? This is like crazy. But that was like the environment, talk about environment that I was in. And so I did that for a couple of years, and then I went back to getting involved, and I was going to get my doctorate because I want to become a superintendent. And a buddy of mine that I was coaching with says to me, why don't you get into real estate? I was like, real estate. And so I share in part of my story that I had such a limiting belief. I love my parents to death, but I wasn't taught. I was taught the blue collar worker. You go to high school, you go to college, you're gonna get a job, you're gonna get married, you're gonna have kids, you're gonna retire, you're gonna die. I mean, that's basically what the plan was that I was around. I worked on a farm, and I was gonna go to work at IBM, and that's just what I thought I was going to do. You take 2 weeks a year for vacation, you save money, and you have a 401k, and that's what I was going to do. So I was like, oh, I can't do that. I went to college for this. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, I can't be a school. I can't be a real estate agent. I don't have I don't have a business background. Well, fast forward through 7 times I failed the test. I took the class twice. Many people don't know that. That I was going through a very challenging time with a really good friend of mine. And we lived together. He was like my brother, and we had a major falling out. I was mentally, emotionally distressed. And I took the entire class. And it's 4 months, one class.
Mm.
And I failed it the first time, and then I took the test, the class again. Then I had to take the state test. And it was on my seventh time that I finally passed it. And I told myself, if I don't pass it this time, I'm not going to do this. And many times I ask myself, I wonder where I would be if I let failure take over, if
Mm.
I accepted failure. And so at that point, I learned a lot about adversity. And I learned a little bit about myself at the time on who I was starting to become. I didn't really know too much more about that because I wasn't in the mindset. I was into the drinking and partying and women, and I just really wasn't into like business and all that stuff. So I made the transition into real estate and was very blessed and fortunate. And I did it. It was back in the '07, '08 years, and we all can kind of remember what was going on in the market at that point. And so I've been in the industry for 15 years now. And I was about to just jump right out of it because I was making some really good money and I was already still making $60,000 teaching. I went and bought a BMW. I was living large. I was around attorneys, lenders, women, people who were making money. Life was great for me. They had no kids still. And I went down that road for quite some time. And I went down that road and it wasn't a very it was a fun road. I shouldn't say anything. It was a fun road. Got married and in 2012 we had my daughter Brielle, who you kind of see going back behind here, and you know, I got mixed up in the wrong crowd. We talked about that environment, and I stayed with that crowd because that crowd was fun. That crowd gave me something that I wasn't getting maybe at home. That crowd gave me something that I never had because I was being paid attention to. And I always say money doesn't buy you happiness. Money gives you choices. And it
Mm.
gives you more choices
I
than
would.
anything else. And so I was given a lot more choices because I was making some really good money, new cars, bars, different type of drinks. I could do all that stuff that I can, and it got the best of me. And I say many times that, when you go home with your family or your loved ones, they shouldn't get the rest of you. They should get the best of you. But we continue to give the rest of us because like, oh, I worked so hard today and this is all I have left. And I gave the best into that world. And I got really into drinking and it got really bad for me in my life. And with my daughter being born, my marriage fell apart and I was a functioning alcoholic. And I didn't realize it at the time because I wasn't allowing. You deny it, David. You just like this
Mm.
isn't. I can. What do you mean? I got a problem? Like I'm fine. I'm making money. I'm doing this. But that devil, he was that ego was just growing and growing and growing, and I started not to become my true authentic self. I was becoming a different person, and I didn't care who you were. You were not going to get in my way. And unfortunately, I became a really bad self narcissistic type of person.
Mm.
And I say many times of my life today, my thinking hasn't changed, my drinking has changed. And so I know when I have more clarity on making better decisions. Could I still be a jackass? Absolutely. There's not a problem for me. Like somebody could say something to me and boy oh boy my neck what do you, like I could feel it. But the best thing that I've learned how to do throughout this whole process, this gap that I was able to close and become a better self, become more spiritual and everything under it, is that able to control the monster within inside of us.
Mm.
Because there's certain parts that times that we need to be a monster. We need to be aggressive. We need to make some money. We need to make business. We need to go out there and we got to be the leader and we got to stand out. And we got to do things. It's not easy in this world. And in order to become a leader and to escalate yourself, you got to handle many different things. And I'm not getting into politics, but like what Trump's been through and everything, like so many people coming after him. I'm like, I don't know how the guy even gets up in the morning to do his thing. Like I'd be like, what do you want me to do?
Yep.
I'm just like, holy smokes. But when you're out in the spotlight and people like when I'm on YouTubes and Facebooks and Zooms and like you said, I'm on it every single day, several times. And you got it like certain people could trigger you.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to control that. You can't be like, oh, let me just lean into you and tell you what I really think. And to me, I think that those are moments that God gives me to be like, let me check to see if, let me test you. Let me test you, Brock. Let me see if you're really following the law.
That's powerful right there because I will tell you, I'm the type of individual that while I can bury it, I get emotionally affected by negative situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Moments I call them. And I think God allows punch in the gut moments every so often just to see if I'm strong enough to withstand
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you're able to take the step back and look at a bigger picture, the punch in the gut moment's really not that big of a moment. It really
Mm-hmm.
is. But in the snapshot of right now, that punch in the gut just can knock you off of everything, right? It can really, derail you if you allow it to.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you this question because I think that we're kind of transitioning into old Brock, new Brock. Was there a situation or an event that took place that really kind of caused you to do that 180,
So
or a set of things that may have taken place that you're like, if I don't change, it's all going to go away?
yeah, and it's funny you say that because um that's how my podcast started. And I need to have you on mine. It is Figure It Out Friday.
Mhm.
And it just happened to rhyme with Figured Out Friday, but it's like, how did I figure this out? Like at what point? And so there's a couple of defining moments in my life that made me like, do I want to continue to live this way? And one specifically is I shared that I when you're drinking and you're trying to hide it so other people can know, the best place to hide it, and this is going to sound terrible, but I'm just being honest with you, is in your car when you're driving.
Mhm.
I know, not like a really safe thing, but that's literally what I was doing. And so I could create a story that I had to go to a house to go do a showing, or I had to go someplace and I could drink in my car, and I was by myself and here I am. And so one time I just kept driving, and I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I actually drove 3 hours. I got on the highway and I just kept driving, driving, driving. I ended up being in Virginia, and I was pretty hammered, and I was vodka was my choice. And I stayed at one of those hotels that 29.99, those 27.95 ones. Like, who would ever stay there? Well, that was me. I stayed there, and I remember getting a room, stumbling in there. Thank God the guy gave me a room. It was, you got your own key, and you got to go outside. It was in January, and I crawled on the ground, and I was so cold. I was holding on to the bottle. I laid on the ground. It was in Virginia. Really, at the time period, I remember saying like, I don't know where I'm at. It was like one of those floor heaters that you had to turn on. That was from like 1950,
Wow.
and I was laying there freezing. And I said a couple choice words that I'll keep to myself, but I just I basically, man, what the hell are you doing? Like, how much more are you going to take of this? You've already lost your marriage. You're about to lose your house. Cars repossessed. You're about to lose your kids. Like, at what point are you going to stop? And it really, like, it was a defining moment. But I'll tell you this, David, it wasn't a stopping moment because I continued on that path for about 5 more months, 6 more months. I really thought it was going to be it. And in the book, the blue book, the Alcoholics Anonymous book, there's the gentleman's name's Bill. And there's many times I'm reading his story. I'm like, this guy, he must stop now. He's probably going to stop now. And he went through like 5 different points. But until you're actually in there, it's hard to explain it because you continue to go down the path and you think you're at your bottom. And I always tell people when we're in the programs and different things, I just say, don't stop somebody to their bottom. They gotta hit it. They gotta hit it on their own. You cannot stop them. They have to get down to that point. And so that was one of my defining moments. And then um, I got to another one basically in September 7th, and it was. I mean, I had no money. I had nothing. Electricity was turned off. I was trying to survive. I was trying to find money, and all I kept doing was drinking. I had to go get diapers. My wife at the time, I had to lie because I couldn't afford it, like the normal diaper amount. So like I could only get the smallest amount of diapers, and then I had to lie to Laura because she's like, "Why didn't you get the big back?" Oh, that's all they had, and I'm like, "What the hell am I doing?" And so it started to affect my kids, and it's like I can't even get diapers for my children now. And so I went in AA, and I went into AA, and I started to learn the ropes. And my biggest fear, David, I would tell you this: I felt alone. I
Mm.
didn't think anybody else was going through what I was going through. Like nobody's gonna understand. Nobody's gonna see what I'm going through. And one of the things I would share with the audience is you're not alone. Don't ever think you're alone for any given point because somebody has been through the same thing, except it's a different name, it's a different drink, it's a different address, it's a different state. That's all there is to it.
Mm.
Because when I went into those AA rooms, the best thing that I could tell you is you're not alone. But actually, I kind of was hearing other people's stories, and I'm like, man, I'm nothing compared to you. Like, holy smoke, you really got a lot of problems. Like,
Right.
wow. And so I started to pour into myself. I started to get help. I started to go through that transition of what that was. And that transition got me into, not even close. I mean, it was 2 years ago now because my life has really, I call myself like one of those, like, what do you call them in dog years? Like how old you are. It's like, for me, like I'm only 6 years old because 7 years old because I started this when I was 38.
Mm.
And like I'm a totally different person. And 2 years ago, I became spiritual. And one of my spiritual mentors, Justin Ford, I met him down in Florida. Like I was in New York and I was like, I'm flying down to Florida. I gotta go meet this guy. And I met him in the courtyard of this conference that we were at. And I was like, you don't know me, but I came from Charlotte. I was in New York and I had to meet you because I heard his story and he was drinking out of a toilet bowl in jail.
Oh,
He was
wow.
so messed up on drugs and everything else. And I was like, man, how'd you turn it around? He's like, God. And I'm Catholic. I went to private school all my life. And like, I mean, I know God, but I didn't really know God.
Gotcha.
And he taught me how to have conversations with God. He taught me that to ask for help. He taught me that there's more to life than what I see here. He taught me that God makes impossible possible. And until you have faith, you really don't have too much. And I'm not trying to be mean to people, but you got to believe.
Yeah.
You got to understand what that's all about. And I started to learn. And I say many times now, one of my new lines is do your hard. Like, do your hard stuff you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Have the hard conversations with God. Have the hard conversations with other people. It's only hard because it's up inside our head.
Right.
When you let it out, guess what? You're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. And when I ask God for things, guess what? He comes through. It's only when he doesn't come through is when I don't do my heart, and my heart might be my prayers every morning. My heart might be saying certain my affirmations, my gratitudes of doing the hard stuff that I don't want to do because I got so many distractions in my life. And so I've learned how to like, no, everything else can wait. This is Brock's time. This is God's time, and I'm going to dive into it. And that's really what's helped me really. I mean, I was doing well stopping drinking, but it's kind of like a whole nother level took shape when I
Mm.
entered with God into me and how he transformed me. And now I have opportunities like this. I have opportunities every single day to meet new people who like travel now. Like I never thought people would travel to come see me or ask me to be on podcasts or let me hear this story and tell me more about this. And it's been really remarkable, man. Um, and hopefully you can ask me any other questions or dive in deeper. I wanted just to kind of give you the full spectrum of really all the different moments in my life that made an impact on me that now I can make an impact on others.
Absolutely. And I made some mental notes while you were talking. Some things popped up in my mind. One was the isolation. I think that is common thread among people who are struggling. And
Mhm.
again, addiction's addiction. It can be alcohol, drugs, food, women, it can be anything. And I know that there's a certain level of shame that goes on when you slip, right? The journey out or the journey through is never a straight line. And there are those moments. And for me, at least, when I'm struggling with my own, you can say demons or whatever, but when I'm struggling with my own shortcomings and I think I've gotten past something and I have that moment that I slip or that I'm weak, the amount of shame that's heaped on is pretty substantial. And I know that through my faith, through prayer, God is really good through his mercy and grace that he kind of lifts that heaviness, right? It's like,
Mhm.
David, I still love you. David, I still have a plan for you. Brock, I still love you. I still have a plan for you. This is just a minor blip in the grand scheme of things, even though it doesn't feel like a minor blip right now. So there's that. The other thing I thought about while you were talking too in the isolation side of things is, and again, I'm not a preacher. Well, I'll let other people decide that. But the Bible says that the enemy is like a lion seeking who he may devour.
Mm.
And if you watch like the wildlife shows,
Mhm.
the lion doesn't go into the heart of the tribe or the
Pack.
herd. He always finds the weak one that's off by himself or the one that strayed away, right? He goes after
Mhm.
the one that, and I think in a lot of cases, again, if you're a believer, great. If you're not a believer, understand that the principle is still the same.
Right.
You're at your weakest when you're isolated. You're at your weakest when you can get into a herd of like-minded, like directional people. It makes a difference, and I think that's a really good segue about today, right? You talk about the show you do every day, but it's not just you, it's like 15 other people that have all decided we're going to get together every morning and share. And it's the rooms that you and I have met in. It's the uncomfortable conferences we've been at, when we're not the social butterfly, but yet we met that one or two persons in that
Yep.
conference that turn into lifelong friends. What are your thoughts as someone who has had to navigate a lot, whether it's self-inflicted or not really doesn't matter. It's still a lot of navigation. How do you put yourself in those positions? How do you get yourself into those circles? Because I guarantee you, and I haven't asked you this question, we haven't talked offline, but I guarantee you felt a little bit of imposter syndrome when you first started putting yourself out there. And then all of a sudden people are like, well, we want to do a Zoom with you, or we want to do a podcast with you. How did you get over all of the stuff in the past to help move you forward and not let it be an Achilles heel?
It's funny I was talking to I was fortunate to speak at a event here in Charlotte called Amplify with Chad Free, and him and I were speaking. That's a cool thing when you're able to speak with other colleagues in the same stage and to do that. It's like we both like looked at each other in the green room and like, man, who would ever thought that you and I would be doing that? And so it's you got to reflect and you got to remember your small wins. You got to celebrate your small wins because they help you get along the way. And it's okay to celebrate small wins. I feel you should celebrate small wins each day. Those are little stepping stones for you to go. And when you how I made the transition in that point really was I was embarrassed for 2 years. What the hell is your problem, Brock? Why can't you stop drinking? People are gonna laugh at you. You made fun of those type of people. Like nobody wants to be a part of that. And you just you sulk in it, you marinate in it. But today, I'm a believer of that was the path that God had me be on. There's like many people say, do you regret it? Do you wish you started sooner? I'm like, no, I don't, because if I started sooner, I might go sooner into something else that might be a bad decision that I made because my pain wasn't where it needed to be in order for me to make those type of decisions that I can make today. I don't need to go out anymore. Like I actually, you need a DD? Not a problem. I will drive. I have no problem driving. I can't wait to go back to bed. Like I'm fine with that. But to me, it came when somebody reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you mind? I'm struggling with this." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Man, I'm going through the same thing, and you kind of like you triggered me, and I was able to relate to you." And it was like God gave me the gift, and He says, "Brock, you are going to become relatable to many, and you're going to help few." And it's like I learned that my story is powerful to help people not feel alone because that was my greatest fear. And if I can share my story and bring on people and people wonder like, how come you like you do your show all the time? I said, I do it 51 out of 52 weeks a year. And it is hard to do it that many times. But what I can tell you, it's not as hard as hiding and lying and drinking every day and pretending you're somebody different.
Oh, wow.
So if I can do that at every other day that ends in Y, then I can make a positive decision every day it ends in Y. And I'm perfectly fine with making these better decisions today. So it keeps me in check. So when I don't want to do a podcast, when I don't want to be at 8:15 and I'm running around, and I was sharing the other day, like people don't know, like at 8:14 when I'm running around and my kids are running and this is going in school and Brielle was telling me she's sick. It's just like, hey, everybody, welcome. Good morning to today's. It's like, I got to put on the show. And I'm like, you don't understand the hell I was just in right there.
Right.
But you know what? I'll take this hell all day long because I know what it's like to really be in hell. And that helped me make a transition to show up, be impactful, motivate, inspire, and trigger something inside of somebody that maybe I can get them through another day to help them, just like somebody did it for me.
That's so good. That is so good. And like you said, you alluded to, confidence increases with every little success you celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
And that you have confidence that no matter what you face, yeah, 8:15 is always looming, but you know that you've done it before. You know that you've come out of way worse situations. You know you've shined and you've crashed and you've survived both.
Yep.
And so hitting that go live button is not nearly as hard as it was, a
Right.
year ago. Or I get that for sure. And I'll echo what you said. The accountability level of coaching and helping others is probably, as much as I enjoy the reward of somebody changing their life, and I do, I enjoy that reward. The bigger reward is I've kept myself in check and I've kept myself accountable because I know that person's looking to me. I know that
Mm-hmm.
that I have to be an example to somebody else. And for me, that's the beauty of what coaching brings to the table. I mean, yeah, there's the other aspects, but that to me is the biggest one, is that self accountability, because we
Yep.
are all flawed vessels.
Mm-hmm.
We all have a history. I tell people all the time, I'm so thankful social media didn't exist when I was in high school.
Oh,
I
me
said it was bad
too.
enough there was VHS cassettes. Okay, there's certain things on camcorders that I hope never come to light.
Oh,
But
yes, so
but
true.
but we all have a past, and so Brock, I want to kind of land the plane a little bit, but you made mention of the book you're writing,
Mm-hmm.
and I want you to kind of give a synopsis and then maybe some forward, when to expect it to come out, and that kind of thing. You may not be that far yet. I know me. I said one date, and then a year later, I was still saying that one date. So kind of give us the lowdown on the book.
Yeah, so and just like anything, you gotta I don't know why inside my head. So I'm actually finishing my first book, which is Turning Scripts into Conversations. And that one's for entrepreneurs going in the sales capacity of creating a formula to help people convert at a higher level and have conversations, not only in the business world, but also in your personal life, and with your kids and those type of relationships. So that book will come on out at the end of second quarter
Fantastic.
of this year. And then my book, My Mess to Success, is more of an autobiography of my life, starting off Not really starting off. I did it in a video. I had to do some different things. It's on my YouTube channel, but my mess to success, I'm hoping it comes out next year. Um, I am in probably midway through, but as you know, how many drafts you have to do and what, and here's the biggest challenge I've come. It's like I start writing it, and sometimes it's hard
Oh yeah.
because it's like, damn, I remember I was like that. I can't believe I did that. What an idiot. Like, what was I doing? And I start going off this, like, it's like my brain starts thinking about some of the nonsense, and then I write that stuff down. And so I was told that just get it all on paper, get it all on paper, and then you have people help you organize it, however that looks. And so my message to success, you know, in all honesty, probably come out next year. Um, I'm looking to get the first book out and get it really published. And I've been blessed and fortunate. I already have people not lined up, but like requesting it just because it's part of, it's what I've been doing for the last 12 years. So, but my message to success is literally what I shared with you, but even in more detail, more of the emotion side of crying on the couch, trying to figure out money, going having DSS called against my kids, the IRS $153,000, and the sheriff coming, I'm going to jail. Like those moments, you know, Dad, my 5-year-old saying, Dad, why is the police officer here? Like getting more into those type of details and what it felt like and explaining that to him and having the DSS worker saying we need to see if you're you know a good father and wanting to frickin' pound the lady and but like really just kind of wearing it on my sleeve and bringing that to my audience is where I really want to be in depth with it to help people understand the emotion because I get it and how to overcome that. So it's a little bit more in depth of really my story in a whole. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight of what that's going to be like.
Absolutely. And you made mention of your YouTube channel. Kind of tell people how to follow you and because it sounds like you're kind of giving people updates on the progress of that, plus giving the content that you give on a daily basis. How are the best ways for people to follow you?
So you can go to brockzevan.com, is one of my websites. And then you can look me up on Facebook, Brock Zevan. And then my coaching program, my private page is Brock Zevan's Mindset Motivational Coaching Show. And that has really everything in there. We've really been blessed. We started with like about 200 followers last year, and we're close to 700. We should break 700 by the middle of March, and it's pretty cool to see people following us and where this is really turned into. So I do have YouTube channels, but if you Google me and look me up and I've been blessed. I've hired the right people to help me put out there. I create the content and just basically share my story, and they help promote it. So
And
it's on Facebook.
I'll attest to the Facebook group and the Daily Show. It's funny, you know, I'm in the Central Time Zone, so you catch me in the shower most days.
Yeah.
That's why I don't come on the Zoom because I'm
David, please turn your camera off, David. It's a family show here.
But folks, you know, Brock said a lot today, and I think probably the biggest takeaways that I could share is number one, you're not alone. Number two, we all go through a journey of that a lot of times is very painful, and yet in that pain we create the ability to help others.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, folks, that what you've heard out of Brock is the lesson I'm going to take away from this is never look at somebody where they are without asking them where they've been. Because where they are is a culmination of where they've been. And what you're seeing right now, you may not be where they are, but you may be where they've been, and they may be the most qualified to help you get from where you've been to where you want to be.
Amen.
So, Brock, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm going to end the show like I always end the show with my favorite phrase, and that is not knowledge is power, applied knowledge is power. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for keeping this in mind today. If something landed, share this with someone who needs it. And if you haven't already, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts. Connect with me at davidaspeck.com, and I'll see you next time. God bless.